Now, I've known about Nomen watches for years. I've been on their website many times, and I've even bought watches from them before. But I never realised that they actually had a physical store. I never even thought to think about it or look for that. But when I found out I was coming to Singapore, well, I found out they're located here, and now I'm going to go check out their store. Hello, you're watching James. My name's James, you're watching me, and I am talking about watches. And when I knew that I was coming to Singapore, I reached out to Nomen Watches and said, would you be okay if I came and did a store visit and did some filming whilst I was there? And they were lovely with their response, and they were even excited to get a video made about the Nomen watch store. So today I'm going to be heading to Nomen Watches. I'm going to have you look at all the different watches that they have on offer. They have quite a few different brands, both from some of the smaller brands, but also some really well-known brands too. And Nomen Watches has been around for some time, since 2002, and it was founded by some watch enthusiasts. They seem to sort of really love their watches, which is why they wanted to open a store with watches. And the type of watches they have are quite diverse, because they have watches that we know like Orient and Seiko and Oris, but they also have some other brands like Steinhardt. They even do some collaboration type watches, which I'm really hoping to see there today. But especially to see the watch that I just don't get to get hands on with very often, because in Australia I can see some of the major brands, but some of these smaller brands or lesser known brands, or even just brands like Hamilton, are hard to get hands on with. So I'm going to get to see all of those today at Nomen. And you'll find that they are located within this Millennium Walk shopping centre or shopping mall, located 9 Raffles Boulevard here in Singapore. And they're on the ground floor as well. So if you're going to be looking for them, just come through the main doors, keep walking, and they're on the right opposite this coffee shop, which was very nice. I got to stop for a coffee on the way whilst I was waiting for them to open. And you'll see when you get to the store that they are located at the number 73/74 or store 73/74, yes, on the ground floor. And there's a few bits and pieces that you can see on the outside. You can see me there filming there, and you can see the Nomen logo up there within the store themselves. And there is just a heap of watches when you walk in, both in cabinets on the sort of center as well as up on the walls around the outside. And the first thing that really stood out to me was some of the big brands which I just don't get to see very often, like Mido and Hamilton. And then looking down here, I can see things like Steinhardt and Orient Star. And I've owned an Orient Star, or I do own an Orient Star, so it's been actually quite nice to see some others. And Squally was definitely a brand that I really wanted to get hands on with, because I've seen so many videos and so many pictures of them, but never had hands on with one before. And this one I think is a new release too, so it was really nice to see it. The blue was just so vibrant and quite a cool sort of strap combination with it too. But I did really want to get in and have a look at other brands, especially like Glycine, which I've owned a couple, which is quite nice. But I really wanted to get hands on with this new Combat Sub Crosshairs dial, which when that came out a few months ago or earlier this year, I just really was drawn towards it, and it's just as good in person as I was hoping. It's also nice to see Damasco there, one of my favourite German brands, which I've owned previously, so it was nice to have a bit of a look in through the counter and also see the straps that they have on offer too. I'm not here to buy straps today, but there was certainly so many available just here to have a look at, which was really cool to see. Mido I have seen a few times before. There are available within Australia to see, but just not regularly. So it is cool to be able to see that. And what was really interesting was to see that they have JDM Seikos in store. That was actually a little bit unexpected for me. I wasn't expecting to see those. And there was one particular watch in this sort of set here from Seiko that I just did want to see. Not one of the JDM models, it was one of the Paddy Special Edition Samurais. It's one that I've just stood out to me lately, so I just wanted to get hands on with this one, so it was really nice to be able to see it whilst I was here. And there were just so many watches that I could have asked to check out, but I just tried to limit it to a few to give you a good selection, like this little Raymond wheel, which I definitely not had hands on with these ones before. And there's one particular model from them that I've always been drawn towards, and it's this one. Strangely enough, this is also the one that was on a big advertisement at the front of the store.
a really lovely looking watch, a really lovely sized watch, and I do love a sub-second registry on a watch. And of course, I had to check out Hamilton, and I know everybody knows Hamilton, everybody loves Hamilton, but I just don't get to see them that often. Australia just doesn't really have that much access to them. I've had a few opportunities recently to get a few more in hand, but yeah, just nice to get them in hand whilst here, especially this, I think it's called the Intramatic. This one is a bit of a crowd favourite, I think, but I'd never actually seen this one in person. This must be the full automatic, I believe, because it is quite tall sitting, but other than that, quite a nice looking watch. Some Orient here, some Orient Star, good to see those here as well, and really just nice to see the sort of mix of watches, because yes, there's sort of Japanese models, but there's also Swiss models, there's well-known brands, there's German brands, there's also special editions and sort of collaborations with brands like Steinhardt, and then there's Alpina, which I've really wanted to get hands on. I've never actually seen one of these in person, and this is the particular model that has really stood out to me recently. I think I came across this one early this year or late last year, so just getting hands-on with it was particularly nice. The hands especially just really shone out to me on this particular model. And as you sort of stand and just sort of survey the entire store, you can see that there are just a lot of watches to check out. And I just definitely had to then go and have a look at all the different models as well. I kept asking the guy that was helping me to grab more and more watches out, so I did try to limit it to just the ones that really stood out to me. But one of the brands that I definitely wanted to get hands on while I was here was Steinhardt. I've owned two of these previously. They've been big standouts for me. I actually bought some early on in my watch collecting experience, and that really catapulted me forward with some really interesting designs. And surprisingly enough, this one. This is one that I saw come out earlier this year as well. It has lume block markers and numbers, and it just stood out to me when I saw it on their website. So it was really nice to get hands on with it. And I have to admit, as I was then walking around the store after seeing some of these watches that I'd had in hand, checking out the Damasco again, I think I had to get drawn back to Steinhardt, especially that squared off pilot style with those lume block markers. I didn't actually realise they were lume block markers, and in fact it's probably the first watch I'd seen with lume block markers, and they were nice enough to charge up that lume for me as well to have a quick look whilst I was there. But because I was drawn back to this model, I then had to see it in all three colour variations. In fact, after this entire visit to the store looking at all these amazing watches, this is the one that has catapulted straight to the top of my wish list. And I would have loved to have purchased it on this store visit, but I've just spent all my money getting over here to Singapore to look at watches, so it's now just on my wish list to have a bit of a look at later. You can see there's some other brands in here as well that I'd actually never seen before, some really interesting looking watches. But then I wanted to have a close look at some of the store brands like this Hitori. I've actually owned one of these before. I think this is the Series 2 or the next dial variation. Now I have to admit, I think the dial on these newer ones are a little bit better than the previous models, and other store variants like this one, which actually was really a standout for me. I think maybe it's just that yellow on the black, but then also the different levels within the dial. Very cool, and a very soft strap too. And some of my favourite watches like the Oris, but then there was also U-Boat. What I really liked about this store, well, there was quite a few things I liked about this store, is just the sheer variety of brands available. Just wandering around, you get to see so many different brands and so many different styles, and I was really enjoying my experience, and I really enjoyed being there. I'm so glad that I took the time to get to Gnomon whilst I was here in Singapore. Thanks everybody for watching. Perhaps you'd like to watch a couple of my other videos next.